We're back in the crib, and what's going on is we're based here in Winnipeg once more with one of the finest young kings at video editing on the south side of the city, Demi Ade- Adeleye-Olusae. Hope I'm
Hey,
not butchering that too bad, but we're talking all things making moves, no BS. And honestly, man, one of the most one of the most intriguing things I'm really interested to know about is how you went from just being a buy some football player to living in Toronto, traveling the world, being an entrepreneur. Because when you leave football, there's one of two things that can happen, and most of the time it's not looking good.
yeah,
So
usually downhill. Yeah, no, that's fair. Actually, that's something that I thought about a lot, even before getting to the Bisons, because I considered not playing football anymore. And I was like, football is like my whole identity right now. I was really scared. I had like almost like an identity crisis. I was like, what am I gonna do outside of football? And then I kept playing again for the Bisons. And then after that, I already had it like set up where I actually did find my identity in a little bit. So we didn't go straight downhill. It was a little bit down, but we recovered a little bit.
so Nicholas bullied you successfully, of course, to move to Toronto. What was his pitch like, and what made you finally take the leap to move to the biggest concrete jungle in Canada?
Bro, your brother is. I wonder what he was like in elementary because his bullying skills are actually top tier, like almost toxic levels. But basically, what it was because we were both working. I want to say with because we were contracting for this agency doing social media stuff. And then, so by that point, we were making money online as everyone wants to do so badly. So I could work from literally anywhere. And he's like, bro, you make this. I can't even do it. I can't do an impression of him. But he's like, you make this amount of money. Like, just move to Toronto. Like, you can work anywhere. We can get more clients. City opportunity. Like, Winnipeg is fucking shit. And I was like, I mean, you're not wrong, but it's scary still. Even though I always wanted to move to Toronto, like it was a goal, like it was gonna happen regardless. But I just wasn't ready to take like that step. So he just kept like hammering me like every like 2 weeks when we were on a phone call. He was like, "So when are you moving to Toronto? When are you moving to Toronto?" Like he like send me links, be like, "Oh, this is a nice place to live in." Like, "Oh, would you live here?" I'm like, "Fine." So then we just decided, okay, fuck it, we're just gonna drive, even though we're not making as much money as we would like to at the time, because I was still like, Toronto's expensive as shit. I was like, we're just gonna take the leap of faith. We're gonna pack our whole life in our car and just fuck off and make it happen. So he was very persuasive. Consistency.
So you talk about people making money online, and I know that that's one of the things that gets thrown out there. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned from seeing and dissecting tons of gurus, coaches, courses, the whole nine yards. If you're an online finisher, and if you're an online finisher, if you're an online finisher, how to get clients, how to get clients, how to get clients. Do you have leads? Do you have leads? The basic premise of how to make money online is learn how to do sales and or marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no? Is that basically the premise of if you know how to do those things well, it doesn't matter what business you're in, you can make money online.
Yes, you're 100% correct. If I, because you said sales and or marketing, like sales and marketing, like literally interchange, not literally, but basically interchangeable. Like you need both, because if you have good sales, you can't really, like, I don't know how to, like, they're just the same thing, basically. So yes, you are correct.
So how did you get into video editing? What was the thing that taught
Oh
you how
man.
to, or that made inspired you to actually sit down and spend hours at a computer mindlessly making videos?
This is my favorite origin story. So I used to play a lot of Call of Duty. Like I was obsessed with Call of Duty. I think I started MW3 was my first Call of Duty. After my first actual experience with Call of Duty was like MW2 when I was playing like one-on-one on Rust and shit with like the intervention and quick scope and all that shit. My friend kicked my ass at it so many times. So that it made me like grind to get a PS3 and then start playing on MW3. So now we're playing on MW3 like nonstop. And then we started watching YouTube videos about Call of Duty and stuff. So then we started seeing people do like montages of like trick shotting, quick scoping, like commentary channels, whatever it may be. So seeing all of that stuff, I'm like, I'm sick as fuck. I could do that too. So I got, I think it was a Roxio or an Elgato at the time to like record your gameplay. And then I'd also take like other people's gameplay from online and I would just like try to make my own montages. So from there, we started like basically teaching ourselves like the whole Adobe suite because you use Premiere Pro and you use After Effects for the really sick stuff. Then you use like Photoshop for like some little details in the editing. Like basically you could use the whole thing, but it all started because of Call of Duty, making those montages. And then from there, it went into like I started taking more trips and stuff. So then I started recording stuff on my phone. So then I'd edit like those vacation vlogs and then start doing like little day in the life stuffs, yada yada. And then from there I went into like highlight tapes because I was still playing football in like high school and all that. So it just like it started from Call of Duty, but it just like every aspect of my life as I evolved or grew up, like that's just what it changed into. So editing's been a part of my life since like elementary, and that's how we can stare at the screen for 12 hours a day and not start twitching.
Yeah, I mean, that's what back when we craved looking at screens. Now we're trying to look at them as
A
for as little
little
time as we
possible.
possibly need to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love looking at screens though. You know, you got to get the what is it, blue light filter and stuff like
Yeah,
that, and
yeah.
then like other lights around you, then it just makes it so much easier. I'm a professional at this.
What's the hardest thing or the most challenging thing about editing?
Oh, I would probably patience because I think that's why I'm such a patient person now because I've been editing for I think like a decade plus, give or take. But definitely patience because some some things that you see in editing, it's like you'll see a cool animation for like 5, 10 seconds, but that shit took 3 hours to animate, to keyframe, to get the color right, to get all the different settings. So definitely patience is the biggest thing. And then I guess another hard thing, I don't know if you could really teach it though, is like understanding the aesthetics of things because people think that oh you just have a lot of flashy things going on like oh you're a sick editor, but it can't just be random. Like it has to mesh well together, it has to actually look nice. So that's kind of like an intangible that you can't really teach, like how coaches always like oh you can't teach grit and hard work, all that shit. That's being able to understand aesthetics and what actually looks nice is definitely a challenge because I've tried to teach some editors some stuff and I'm like you don't got it, but you could try.
I guess also too, like with anything in the creative space, you're gonna have to watch what other people do for inspiration, and you're just gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
consume stuff. Because if you don't, then
Exactly.
like I think it's I think it was Rick Rubin who talks about the like. Do you know who Rick Rubin is?
Nope. But go
Okay,
on.
so basically he's like this old white dude who has like a really long beard and long thinnish hair and at the top of his head. He always wears like these like orange sunglasses, and he's like a music producer for he's
Okay.
worked with like Pharrell Williams and like a bunch of other famous people. He
Okay.
hasn't really become very famous until recently because of like a book he wrote in like the last 2 years or something like that.
Mhm.
Anyways, one of the things he talks about was like your taste and your abilities at first are going to have a big gap. Your
Mhm.
job is to make things anyways so you can close the gap between your taste and your abilities. Because like you said, guys at the beginning, like they don't got it. Like you're not going to come out like the sixth editor. Like just there's no way.
Mhm. Yeah, no, exactly. That's actually that is the best way to put it, actually, because even like a couple of days ago, I was talking to one of my editors, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I have so many ideas, this and that, but I just don't know how to do it." And then he tells me the ideas. I'm like, "You can literally just do like one, two, and three, and then it'll be easy to do." But yeah, his abilities just aren't where his taste may be or needs to be right now.
So, I mean, when you think about what it is that you do online, you moved to Toronto. Nicholas
Mhm.
convinced you. You're there. How did you handle moving to a city that you wanted to live in, but you never had before? That's has the highest amount of financial pressure to survive. Just
Mhm.
forget thriving, like just to survive. It takes a lot. And how did you deal with living there after you'd finally achieved the goal you're looking for?
Mhm. Actually, what I think a lot of people should do that I didn't intentionally do, but it just kind of happened was before I moved, I already visited Toronto like 3 or 4 times in the span of like I think 3 months. So I was already really familiar with everything because usually people like move cities and they're like, "What the fuck do I do now?" They don't know what's going on. But I already knew like the areas I'd want to live in, stuff like that. And since I've already gone there so many times, I started already developing some sort of community, friendship group, yada yada. So when I did move, I wasn't just like just figuring it out by myself. So that definitely made it a lot easier for me. But yeah, when I got there, honestly, it wasn't as hard as I would think it should be. I don't know if it's because, like I said, we're already making online money, so we weren't like super pressed for finances. Like we aren't moving like the average Torontonian. So I don't think it was as difficult as it would be for most people. But I would say the easiest way to handle it is definitely already building a community before you move to the place that you're trying to go to, scoping everything out, and then be prepared. Well, it depends on where you're going, but be prepared to like work hard as shit. Like if I didn't already do the online money thing, like when I was thinking about moving in the past, I was already working at Pure Later and I was figuring out how I could work at Pure Later while in Toronto, like they have a division there. So I was just gonna like transfer over there and I was gonna work like 12 hours a day. Like I was just gonna make it happen no matter what. So you definitely have to be prepared to work your ass off, and you probably won't even be able to enjoy the city as much as you want to at first. But that's just because there's levels to this. Like if you're just moving there, you gotta earn your stripes. So yeah.
What made you want to move to Toronto, anyways?
Oh my gosh. I think it was in 2017. I went there to go visit. I want to say my sister. That's the official thing to say, my sister. But there was this girl that I was talking to at the time, so I really went there to go visit her. But say my sister, and then we were just like, I don't even know. We were just walking around downtown, and I was like, I need to live here. It's just the whole concrete jungle thing. Obviously, we like nature, but just being able to look up and see all the skyscrapers and the beautiful skyline, just everything going on. I was like, Winnipeg could never. So I just knew that if I want to develop to the places I want to be in life, that I'd have to move to Toronto. Because even like living here now compared to living in Toronto just like a couple months ago, it's just way less inspiring in general. Like just driving in general, I'm just bored when I drive. But in Toronto, you get to see all the supercars going by. Like G wagons are super casual, the nice Range Rovers, all of that stuff. It just pushes you to want to do better in general. But in Winnipeg, you just see a vast emptiness. So I was like, if I want to become a millionaire, if I want to get my R8, if I want to have this beautiful life that I don't need a vacation from, then I need to take the next step and be in a city that pushes me to do just that.
Have you ever gone and visited like Montreal or Vancouver or any other major, or like
Oh,
maybe New York?
first of all, fuck Vancouver, fuck the whole West Coast.
Yeah,
I
hold on.
can't.
Hold on. Nicholas wants to enter the Zoom. I gotta just decline him for a second.
Uh, no, I hate the West Coast because their lifestyle is just like just slower in general, which is fine. But I just like the fast pace of the East Coast, and I actually wanted to go to New York just before COVID happened, and then COVID happened, and then everything just shut down, and I lost a ticket. Like I literally had a ticket booked to go to New York, so I was super excited, and then now I'm like shadow banned from America, so we won't be going for a little bit. And then I actually went to Montreal this past summer. So Montreal's nice. It's I call it like a knockoff Europe, to be honest.
Yeah, it
It
is. Yeah, very
they're
much so.
and they're like the old what is it, old Montreal, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's still like nice. It's just super touristy, and you could tell that they're trying to be like Europe. But other parts of I think just like the regular downtown is still pretty nice. But honestly, all this no city in Canada compares to Toronto, in my opinion. So I don't know. It sounds like basic as hell because I think a lot of people would say that, but it's just the truth. Nothing can really compete. Calgary can't really compete. Like Calgary is nice, but it's not Toronto. Vancouver is nice, but it's literally this big. So I just Toronto's just a spot.
I mean, the lower mainland is very big, but the actual Vancouver is not that
Yeah,
big.
yeah. The actual Vancouver is like literally that big. Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested to know your thoughts on talking a little bit more about that influence because I felt it too when I lived there and in a different way because I was living there for like wanting to work in sports, media, and journalism. So obviously there, like you live there, you live nowhere if you're anyone who's anyone or anyone that's worth that's noteworthy in Canada in that industry.
Mhm.
Um, but this fact, like the factor of environment versus your will. Obviously, you're in Winnipeg right now for why you need to be. It's not a permanent solution,
Yeah.
but how have your beliefs in yourself changed from when you moved to Toronto versus before when you knew you wanted to live there, but you were still living in Winnipeg?
Mhm. Honestly, like I already have an ego in general, but like moving to Toronto has, in a positive and healthy way, has made my ego go like way up because it's just like we said before, super expensive place to live in. So if you can make it in Toronto, you could basically make it in anywhere in Canada. So I didn't realize it a lot before, but when everyone would be talking to me and be like, "Oh, I mean, you're living in Toronto, you're thriving, so you must be doing good." And you don't realize how good you're doing or how good you have it until other people really point it out, I guess. But it's definitely made me a lot more confident, being like, "Oh yeah, I can really hang with, I guess, the top hustlers in Canada and stuff like that." So yeah, the environment definitely has my ego skyrocketing and or sky, yeah, whatever. And it's just made me super sure of the path that I'm taking, basically, because not that it's all been positive, but for the most part, the trajectory just keeps going up and up and up. And obviously, it's because I'm also in a city that pushes you to go up and up and up. But usually, on the path of entrepreneurship, you definitely have a lot of doubts and questions, and like, do you really got it? But after doing it for, I think it's like technically a full year in a tough place to do it in, it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess we're built for it.
Where would you say that the confidence you have originated from and or the desire to achieve greatness and do more than what we're given in life?
Mhm. Um, I want to say that stems from football. I would say because I've been doing self development stuff since also elementary with the same thing with like how I started with Call of Duty, but with football from a young age. I think I started when I was 8. So then, literally from the first practice, I was like, I just want to be the best. Like I saw all these fast kids and stuff, and I think it was my first time really doing super competitive sports. And from that point on, I was like, nah, fuck all these guys. Like we're gonna be the best. We started listening to Eric Thomas and motivational speeches. We started working out, doing the cone drills by ourselves. So from that point on, I was basically, even if it wasn't true at the point, I was like, I'm the greatest to ever do it. And I say that for everything, even though there might be better editors, might be better marketers, whatever it may be. I was like, nah, I'm the best. And it just reinforced it with all the stuff I was reading, all the speakers I was listening to, even the music. Like, I'm very particular with the music that I listen to. Like, sure, I'll listen to like Little Baby and stuff, but it's only like specifically when he's talking about grinding and like providing for his family and like shit like that. So it's like a accumulation or accumulation of everything that I put in my brain all the time because it's always positive for the most part. And then it just always pushes me to be like, you're the greatest to ever do it. So it's kind of hard to not have that mindset when that's constantly what you're feeding your brain.
Like the saying goes, environment beats well. So what did you do to bulletproof your environment? Or was that something that you found was challenging as you grew up? Because obviously you moved to Toronto and then it's easier to surround yourself with those kinds of people. But before you
Mhm.
got there, what were the things you did outside of music and what you could do in football to ensure
Mhm.
that you kept that same mentality?
Shoot. I don't even know if I did. Actually, that's a great question because I don't know how I even kept the mentality outside of the things that I just said because we didn't. It's only recently that I've been like super focused on the saying that's like you're the average of the 5 people you hang out. Like, everyone knows that shit, but then no one really takes it seriously. But it's only recently that I've really taken that seriously. When I was growing up, I don't know how I kept the mentality because I was still hanging out with like the same people that everyone hangs out with because you go to school with them. And I never really put myself in like a fortress or a box of protecting myself from their influences. So I guess it could stem more from religion and Christianity because that's where my morals are held from, and it kind of goes hand in hand with self-development, like not walking in the way of the world but walking in the way of Christ. So like just focusing on yourself and not being influenced by people too much. Obviously, I'm a teenager or whatever at the time, so we did stray a little bit, but for the most part, the foundation is in Christ. So then, I guess that's literally what it is. Because I have no other idea what it might have been. Because I've never thought about that.
No, I mean, that's why I'm curious because I know that one of my friends was talking about how oftentimes we don't evaluate the friendships we have. Like, why are we friends with this person? Or why do we hang out with these people? Well, because I've known them for 10 years, or I went to school with them, or I s- I was randomly assigned to sit beside them in fourth grade, and now we're best buddies. But if you ever stop to think about like, why do I hang out with these people? Or when you
Mhm,
look back at like the people you went to high school with or university for that matter, and you look and say like, which of them do I still hang out with and why?
mhm,
And maybe none. Maybe you've completely overhauled all the people you hang out with. And
mhm.
that was not a an accidental, not an accidental decision. So like what made you start to recently take that into account? Because you said, yeah, like we all had known that quote for years and years, but like
Yeah.
what made you be like, you know what? Who are the five people I hang out with the most and why do I hang out with them?
Honestly, I don't want to give all the credit to your brother, but that's definitely part of it because I'm already like an extreme person in general, but he's like extreme as fuck.
You say, wait,
So
you're an extreme person? Are you sure you know Nicholas well? Like,
right, we need a new word for him because like he is super intense. So that I saw that and I was like, I thought I was pretty cutthroat already, but I was like, nah, this man's on a different level. So I'm like, it makes sense because um we've talked about it before, like me and him, of like we just need to surround ourselves with the right people and whatnot. But when I saw how, I don't want to say secluded, but like isolated he makes himself when he's like super focused, I'm like, yeah, that's why he's so much further ahead. And then that's why he's doing all these things at such a young age. So I just took that. I'm like, okay, well, clearly it's working. And you already know this quote. Everyone knows this quote. So it's time to actually put the words into action. And as soon as I did that, I think I want to say like a couple of years, like 2 or 3 years, is when we started our crazy upward trajectory. And then everyone started calling me cold for it. And I'm like, yeah, it's cold, but I have these massive goals and I would like for everyone to come with me. Like, I actually have this video on my Instagram like 2 years ago of saying you should be able to bring everyone with you to the top. Like it shouldn't be lonely at the top because you want to bring your friends with you. But I would like everyone to come with me. But if you're not going to put in the work to also be part of the five people of like the excellence and stuff, then you're just going to have to let people go. And that's just the hard truth of it. So after I started being super extreme with it, then everyone started calling me cold. But the people that stuck around are the people who are doing a lot better in life now. So even my friends that had the Osiris shoes back in elementary, we got them doing more, and we got them kind of on the same trajectory or path. Like obviously they're not as far ahead as me and Nicholas, but since they're with us in some shape or form, we're pushing them to go higher. So definitely, I guess not all the not all the credit to Nicholas, but he was definitely a big player in that because this man's is next level extreme.
hey man, I know him pretty well, I'd say. So I completely understand what you're talking about. And I don't know, him and I have always kind of had that kind of aura of intensity in different ways. Like there's certain ways that Nicholas is really intense that I'm like more chilling, and there's other ways that he's more intense that
Mhm.
I'm like an extreme maniac in too. So like I
Yeah,
feel like I can say the same thing about him in my own life because he's helped balance me in certain extremities that I needed to kick up, and then I've helped balance him in certain extremities that he's needed to
yeah,
raise. So we've kind of had that strong balance, and man, I'll hit you with a great Tim Grover quote about
okay,
what you're talking about because I know that you like basketball and you
Tim
are prone
Grover.
for success.
Mhm.
If you think the price to pay for winning is high, wait till you get the bill from regret.
Yep. That right there drives my doesn't drive my whole life, but it drives my life a lot. Because a lot of people don't think about they're like, oh, it's so difficult to learn how to edit. It's so difficult to learn to be on camera. It's so difficult to work 10, 12 hours. But I'm like, it's also difficult to be broke and not be able to help anyone that needs help. Like, I'm not gonna say the exact number, but like I have like X amount of dollars on loan to people right now just because obviously like they needed it. But if I wasn't pushing as hard as I am right now, I wouldn't have been able to give them said money and then not need to ask for it back. So it's like, yes, it's hard to build a business. Yes, it's hard to be an entrepreneur. It fucking sucks half the time. I'm not gonna lie, it's stress as hell. But those few moments where you're like, yeah, I'm that guy because I put in all this work and I'm able to help everyone around me and I'm able to enjoy my own stuff too by like going trips and stuff. But it's definitely a lot better than just sitting in your parents' basement like I am right now, except have it not be a choice. So yeah, Tim Grover, elite, definitely an elite quote.
Yeah, man. I like there's multiple variations I've heard of that quote actually. Another one I think Hormozy said, where it's like, yeah, like in order to win and succeed, it's expensive, but the price you pay for losing is like it costs you a fortune, like
Exactly. Yeah.
or even this other day, the psychologist who I watch on YouTube is talking about, like you have to overpay for success. And oftentimes that's why success feels very disappointing because by the time you get what you were looking for, it's like, fuck, finally. It's not like, oh my goodness, I can't believe we did it. It's like,
It's
good,
like,
better have
oh,
happened.
yeah. No, it's facts. Yeah.
Like think about it. Like when you get something, you're like, goodness gracious, you're like, you throw your arms up as if you just scored a goal and you're down 12 nothing. When in
Yeah.
reality, people are like, bro, that's so crazy. How'd you do it? And you're like, ain't nothing but a G thing, like,
Yeah, no, literally. Nothing but yeah, because you've already been working for like freaking 12 years before it actually happens. You're like, I was just about to quit, bro. Like, thank fuck. That's actually crazy to think about because like even entrepreneurs who have been through it, like Bueno and I, let's say probably like give or take 2 or 3 years of really pushing towards what we're trying to do. But it's only been 2 or 3 years, and we're like, fuck, this sucks. But then you hear all the stories about people who were like 10 years into it and they still didn't get it. I think like Alex Hormozy actually, like he lost it all like twice and he still kept pushing. And then it's like 11 years later, that's when he finally gets it. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're so successful and all this stuff. It's like, bro, I almost off myself like 3 years ago. Like, there's so many levels to this. And then when you finally get it, again, like you said, it's just like, I was expecting it, just took a little bit longer. So it's just like it's just another day at that point.
yeah, man. But honestly, I think that can make it. I know it's disappointing, but like it keeps you in the right frame of mind to have perspective so you can maintain that. Because I feel like if you get something that you feel like was a miracle or that you didn't deserve or was not warranted, then it's not going to stay for long or you're not going to
Mhm.
repeat that. It's like if you, yeah, Cinderella stories are nice, but like
Yeah, it's a slow
when's
burn.
when's it going to happen again, right? Like for example, everyone's like I'm gonna make a basketball analogy because I know that you like basketball. So like the Raptors win the finals. Like to me, that was like a miracle. I never thought it happened in my entire life. But it's like now people are all angry because they're like a 12 seed team. It's like, bro, Nicholas and I were the other day. We're sitting here quoting, or he was sitting here testing himself to me. Can I list every player on the Raptors roster from 2012 to 13 to 18, 19? And some of the names that we grew up with living in the dungeon of real Raptors basketball. It's like, bro, like the Raptors at 10th seed now, that may as well have been winning the finals like 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, side note of the freaking naming the player. Why do you guys know so like you guys go so in depth with basketball? Like Nicholas could name people from like the 80s on like a random like Sacramento team. I'm like,
Okay, that's an
what?
exaggeration. Not the 80s. Sacramento wasn't even a team then. But
Okay.
you give Nicholas, like, bro, you give Nicholas, I've definitely like he's head and shoulders the number one when it comes to like naming random Raptors basketball players. Like I can go back and forth with some of like the Nathan Joas and Ronald Dupree's, but he knows it like year by year and just we had nothing better to do, man. When we were growing up, that was our thing. And now it's like our I don't know, our special trait. Like
No,
that's
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That just shows how intense this man's can be.
yeah, mine has gone from like listing a lot of like I can still list several players and stuff, but it's more so divulged into like rabbit holes of like geography. And then Nichols will tease me about wanting to travel to the most dangerous country in the world and see how many near death experiences I
Right.
can get.
Yeah. Like when you told me you're going to Africa, I was like, what? How was that though? I didn't even ask you.
I
I
mean,
mean, it was
well, oh, here,
but
actually, we can ding, newest
oh
addition to the
yeah.
collection, Cabo Verde. Speaking of which, actually, they won their group today in the African Cup of Nations by beating Mozambique 3-0 in a group
Okay,
with Ghana and Egypt. So,
that's valid. That's valid.
yeah, but uh, it was great. I have interest in going to or at least primarily other countries, yes, but like primarily, I've always wanted to go to all the countries in Africa that were former Portuguese colonies because
Oh,
my thing, like Nicholas, knowing everyone in order of starters to third strings on the 2013-14 Raptors, I love learning about the history of, Portugal's influence on their African colonies and how the cultures are mixed today and what life is like and how they speak the language and the culture. And I find that interesting. That's why I go to these places. And that's why I want to go to Cabo Verde because it was the easiest to the first of the five to get to, the safest and the cheapest, and probably the nicest.
okay.
But
That.
you can make a debate with Mozambique now from some of the videos I've seen of the
Mhm.
resorts and certain beaches they have, but that one's the hardest to get to. It's literally on the other side and probably the most dangerous, like head and shoulders. So
Nice. So it has nothing to do with like self-development, like trying to find yourself like a Tumblr white girl or anything like that.
no, 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 no. I mean, like to me, self-development, it's like the self-development aspect is like learning Portuguese, improving the language, having a well-rounded understanding of the culture and its history. And yeah, like when we went on a tour and I climbed the mountain there, like one of the tour guides, like they message you on WhatsApp in English and you show up, they're like, yeah, we actually don't know English. We're just using Google Translate every time. I'm like, classic. But hey, that's no problem because now I can speak
Mhm.
Portuguese with them. So
Mhm.
it was me and this girl from the Netherlands who climbed this mountain, just two of us, nobody else. And the tour guides, and I was asking them about like, I was like, what did you learn in history in school? And the guy was sitting there like explaining to me the history of like everything they learned about and Antonio Salazar when he was the president of Portugal, who's like basically he's like the Kirkland brand version of Hitler and from Portugal. Like for lack of a better comparison. Started a concentration camp in Africa that was its longest running, was the
Oh
longest
wow.
ruling dictator in European history because most of them died or were killed. Like he was the president of Portugal longer than Joseph Stalin was the leader of the USSR. So,
Jeez.
but not had the secret police take people out and political opponents, but it's not very well talked about because Portugal were never a major player in like any of the world wars. They're a very small country in Europe, like not the smallest, but like 11 million people. Like that's not
Yeah.
it's not that big. But I find that interesting, and they were able to sit there and explain everything to me, and I was like, wow, I understand it all, and this is awesome. This is very enlightening, and I feel like I'm learning a lot. So
This man's well traveled, so educated.
I was gonna say, actually, speaking of traveling, so are you going to help Nicholas with your extreme desire for travel by taking him against his will to places where he can experience real culture? Or
It's been a real culture. Well, he's been to where do you go?
okay,
Like
sorry, let me correct what I said. Are you going to take him places where he's not with any significant others?
that's tough. That's tough. Shit. The thing is, I've only traveled with him to Florida, so I don't know what he's like actually traveling intensely with him. And like I said about the whole of being super intense about who you keep around you now, I keep that same energy with like who I travel with. Because I've only traveled with my cousins internationally, because that's like the group where I go to like London, I don't know, we've gone to a bunch of places now, but that's the group I travel internationally with because they're in London and then in the States also. So the only time we see each other is when someone's going international. But we've like developed a travel system and how we do things and how everyone has their roommates and stuff, so everything is perfect and patterned out. So adding someone else to like any international travel sounds like a tough sell. Also, I also have a girl now, so the traveling I'm gonna be doing is with a significant other, so it's just gonna flip flop to what he was already doing anyway. But I plan to go to Paris in September, so maybe we'll drag him along with us, be a third wheel or something.
Damn. I mean, what okay, how do you like to travel? I'm very curious to know about that. Because you like you said, you know, let's let's get paid, let's go where we like, let's live our lives as kings. You want to travel. What does that look like to you?
I see this is where I defer from Nick because he could live in a freaking like cardboard box, which I also can too if I because like entrepreneurs like grinding and all that stuff. But when I travel and when I have a say on everything that happens, I like the nicer things in life. So I like a more luxurious feel, I guess you could say. It's only recently that we've really been able to like actually do that. So when I go to Paris in the fall, I guess it would be like the hotel that I plan on staying in is like right by the Eiffel Tower, like elite views of the Eiffel Tower. So that's like I, I think it's like 2K total for what the length of stay would be, but like just nicer things like that, and not necessarily doing super adventurous stuff. It depends where we are, but like a slower paced lifestyle when I'm traveling, like going to like nice cafes, going to nice restaurants, and like doing super aesthetic sightseeing stuff. Like some of it is for the gram, I can't lie, but like because my whole thing is to be aesthetic. That's my whole on-camera presence, the whole branding of everything. So I want everything to look as good as it can. Obviously not to like an extent where it's affecting your travel plans, like where you have to wait in line just so you can get this one picture, shit like that. Like that's annoying. But I want everything to look luxury and feel luxury and just feel like I've made it, I guess, in a way. I plan like everything down to the T, the flights, the trains if we have to. Like just everything. Like I want no stress, just everything working as it's supposed to.
So you're not a fly by the seat of your pants kind of traveler then.
No, I I feel like you probably are. You're giving me that vibe right now with that response. But there's space for that. Like I'm not saying like I'm super strict about it. It depends on who I'm with again. Like if I'm with my cousins and they're all older than me, they're all family. So like I know whatever happens will be fine. So if it's like that, then I'll just go with the flow, whatever happens. But if it's like me and my girl, like me and my friends, like I just don't trust other people enough to just go with the flow of things. So everything has to be planned out to a T, not to a T. That sounds like anal, but enough where I'm like everything's gonna be fine. So not five weather pants type. Not that.
Well, I mean, like I'm talking more like, the first thing you do when you are looking to go on a trip is you pay for the flight and then you worry about the rest later. Like you book the flight, you book where you stay, and then you kind of figure out the activities you want to do when you get there. It's not like, okay, campers, on day 3, we're gonna be going to the Eiffel Tower at 7:50 a.m. and we're gonna depart at 7:56, and then after we're gonna get breakfast at 11:17 a.m.
Okay.
Like
Okay. See that makes more sense. Then maybe I am like I like to plan like the bigger things like for Paris, like going to the Eiffel Tower,
for
obviously it's
sure.
a
Yeah.
that you gotta do. And then certain things like the Arc de Triomphe, or like if you really want to go to like one certain restaurant or really cool cafe, like plan one major thing that has to happen that day, and then everything else can just be like vibes. So maybe not super strict, but yeah, I thought you meant just like freaking we booked the ticket the night before, we
Oh
figured
no.
out the hotel when we get there. Like,
No,
nah, I can't.
bro, what? Bro, figure out the hotel when you get there. Like
Bro, I've heard
that's
people
only
do
when you
that.
got real money, bro. When you got real money, you can be like, yeah, we're booking the
Yeah,
hotel
like
night out,
that's
bro.
crazy. We're not there yet. We're not there
Yeah,
yet.
not there yet. Like like okay, craziest story I've actually heard about going to Paris. I had this guy on my podcast when it was about sports, Brendan Dunlop. He
Oh, I
worked for the
know.
Score, and he's Portuguese. And I asked him about like I can't remember actually how it came up. And the funny thing was, he ended up writing an article as a freelance, or he was like a columnist in the Toronto Star, and he wrote an
Mhm.
article about the story he told me. And he's like, "Yeah, when Portugal made the Euro final in 2016, my friends and I were like, we're gonna go." they paid for tickets to fly to France. Less like as soon as they made the final, they bought tickets to go to France, and that was like 3 days before. And they
Damn.
bought tickets for the game as soon as they released them. They're like, he's like, I'm reaching out to people like in Europe, ex-girlfriends in Australia, whatever. Like, I'll wire you the money. I'll send it. I don't care, but I want these tickets. I'm doing whatever it takes. And he said they flew to Paris, watched the game, and flew back the next day. Like, talk about, like turn my birthday into a lifestyle. Like, that's literally what it, he's like, bro, he's like, we booked a hotel stay. Like, we show up, we're like, hey, where's the nearest hotel? I'm booking. I don't care. Like Ritz
That's
Carlton,
fun.
whatever. Like 3,000 euros. Let's do it.
Oh
And
my
yeah, he's like, yeah,
God.
bro, it ran me a bill. But to
Yeah.
get to see them win the Euro, the first ever major competition in the country's history, you were
Mhm.
there live at the game, bro.
Hey, that's kind of worth it to be fair. Yeah.
Bro, 100%, 100%, 100%.
Besides the hotel part, that's actually what I'm so jealous about Europe about because you could literally book a ticket the next day for like freaking $5 basically. And it because it's just so small and it's like so blessed. Like if I lived in Europe, I'd easily go to every country in like less than a year
Bro,
because
bro, on site, like no
it's
question.
ridiculous. Like in can't like flying back from Toronto, Winnipeg, on average would probably cost me $250.
Which is like
And
very cheap. That's like not the
yeah,
average. Like
that's
that's
a
very,
lower end of things. And to do that in Europe, you could probably book like three different flights with the same amount of money. I'm like, bro, that's absurd.
you can
You
fly
can even,
across the entire continent for that amount of money.
bro, it's ridiculous. You could drive, you could actually take a train. Like, oh my, must be nice. Must be nice.
I mean, have you ever thought about like getting, or I don't know if you have like birthrights to get citizenship in like the UK or anything like that?
No.
No, you've never thought about like trying to like move to like actually pull up and move to Europe or no?
Actually, since my cousins, some of them live in London, I think it was the year before COVID. Like when I was still thinking about moving to Toronto, my cousin was like, "Okay, well, if you're not gonna play football, like just come live in fucking London with me for like 6 months to a year or some shit." So it was actually like it was on the table. It was a potential thing, but I don't think I would actually live in Europe for longer than maybe max like an year. 8 months would be like the point where I'd be like, okay, it's time to go back. Because Europe, like the same thing with the West Coast, just their lifestyle is just like slower. It's cool for a vacation, but I like the fast pace. Like I'm trying to stack the peas. Like London is the only place I'd consider living in because it's like New York or Toronto,
Yeah,
basically.
100%.
So mhm.
Interesting. Oh, that's interesting. No, I'm just curious because I know that like, I mean, I think you and I like travel more similarly than like, I mean, Nicholas enjoys it too, of course. Like there's no questions about that, like, but I guess it just depends on like, I think we all have our own kind of different styles and like, you know, I really enjoy luxury experiences and I think they're super incredible, especially like when I like booking an entire Airbnb for myself, like one of the nicest in all of Cabo Verde, like was so
Okay,
sick.
big baller.
Yeah, like it was, man, like booking a place with like best AC, like set, heart of downtown in the main island, like so sick. But like, like for people there, the luxury experience is like going to Sal and Boa Vista, which are other islands that are like far away, and it's basically the same cost as being in Europe. And I'm like, all people do there is just a bunch of British people that like drink on the beach and then drink in the hotel. Like, and to me, that's like
Yeah, that's
boring.
why. Yeah.
Like if I want to go to a nice beach, like bro, why did I go to Africa to go to the beach? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Such a waste.
like I don't know. I mean, I enjoy experiencing cultures of places I go. And I was talking about this with Nicholas the other day with like going to the US. Like the US is a country that has some of the most diverse landscapes of any country in the entire world and so many cool things to see. But I think the main detractor that makes me feel like uninspired to go there is like, unless I'm going with friends or getting a certain experience or going to an event, then it's like, why am I going there? Like the culture is like, there's no difference. Like you can't like, am I going there for like, I know Nicholas is gonna sprint into the Zoom here and swing on me for saying, for slandering Raising Canes, but he's like, bro, like,
Oh,
I said no slander to Raising Canes. But what I was gonna say
okay.
is
I
like,
was about to
like,
say.
like, why would I go all the way to America just so I can go to a restaurant once, or just so I can go to
Yeah,
a few
okay.
restaurants that don't exist, like that don't
Mhm.
exist in Canada? Like when I flew back from Boston on my way back from Africa, I stopped in Minneapolis and they had a Shake Shack in the airport, and I'm like, thank you God, and it was
That guy.
amazing. But it's
Yeah.
like I wouldn't go out of my way like, hey guys, let's go to Minneapolis for the weekend to eat at Shake Shack. Maybe that's easy because you can drive, but are you going to fly to Florida just so you can go to Raising Cane's? Like, maybe if
No,
you
I
live
get
in Toronto, you can catch Flair Air, but from Winnipeg,
yeah, for $60. Yeah. No,
no.
I get that. I guess like the US, the whole culture is just like food and gambling and drinking then. Like that's
Yeah.
basically the whole thing. Cause yeah, I guess they're notoriously known for like their different restaurants, but I mean they're mostly like shit for you. So it's not a great thing to be known for, but that's the culture that you want to experience.
I mean, hey, when you go there and you get to the food is unbelievable. But other than that, I'm like, well, it's if I'm just going here for food, then like I might as well go with someone else rather than by myself. Like
Mhm.
that's at least how I see it. And hey, to each their own. I understand that like, and maybe also too because it's like it's easy. So it's like I'd rather if I'm going to spend the effort to travel, I might as well go someplace that's like far away, unknown, not traveled to. Whereas America is just always going to be there. Like it's not.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how I see it too.
But I don't
Because
know. I'm curious to know like what places have you not been to that you would love to go to? Like, do you have a travel bucket list that you actually like sit
you
down and
know,
think about?
I should actually make a travel bucket list, but I haven't. But one place that I get, like, I almost went to New York before COVID. Like, that's a place I definitely want to go to, only for like maybe like a week or something like that, because it's basically like Toronto except on steroids. So I feel
Yeah.
like I would get the gist of it pretty quickly. Um, One place I want to go to like East Asia. Like, I want to go to Bali. Definitely want to go to Japan. Like, going to Tokyo would be
Now
so.
who's talking about wow, what white girls with tumblers? You're gonna come back
Wait,
with some elephant with bed sheets with elephants on them too, or what, bro?
wait, but it's not define myself, okay? I know who I am. My spirit is calm. I'm good. But no, okay. Bali is like a basic one. Tokyo. I went to Thailand and Singapore last year.
Damn.
Um, yeah, it was like a family trip, so I didn't have to pay for like anything except for the plane ticket. So I was living my best life. Don't tell anyone though. Yeah, it's our secret. But I don't know. I think a couple of places in Europe, like Italy, maybe Greece for like a vacation type of thing. But honestly, I don't. I've the places I've already been to in Europe, like Spain and Portugal, a little bit of France, like those are the only places that I really want to go to. I feel like at a certain point, obviously this isn't actually accurate, but I just feel like Europe is a lot of the same thing in different fonts. So I'm not too eager to go there. Like going to Egypt would be cool, like parts of Africa. And then again, like East Asia. Kind of want to go to China. I don't know why. Like
Oh,
Beijing
really? You want to
might
go to
be a
China?
vibe. I don't know. I've
Hey,
never really thought about it too hard, but I think it might be a vibe.
hey, man. I mean, I've been trying to bully Nicholas to go to Ningbo with me and actually stand on business and not just talk shit about going to visit Xing Monkey and actually go do it. But this man's actually caught. Where he's bailing on my ass, man. I can't handle it.
Wait, is that an actual thing that you can go?
Yes, Xing Monkey is a real living one-armed Tibetan macaque that lives in the city of Ningbo in Zhejiang province in southeast China.
No,
Yes.
I thought it was
Tourists go to the temple and visit Xing Monkey. Yes, they do.
that's crazy. Nah, yeah, you
But
have to
but all the
go.
tourists who go there are people who are from there. Like you don't like
Oh,
yeah, it's like bro, like China's a billion like over a billion people. Like
yeah.
people do
Nah,
like tourism within their own country. Like
no, you gotta bully him for that because that would be hilarious. It's him
yeah.
standing out. Oh no, I thought that was some just random meme that you guys were talking. No, that's crazy. That's crazy.
No, it's real. Like it's actually real. Xing Monkey is not just a figment of anyone's imagination. Very real.
You guys be doing the most all the time. But hey, we love it. It's inspiring.
Just
It
like how I mean, I would still be down to do this, but like in South Korea, like Dong Sim the raccoon, like rest in peace, God rest his soul. Yeah, South Korea still has raccoon cafes that Nicholas and I have not
Oh,
been up to
no
yet.
raccoon talk. I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it. I'm so sick of raccoons, bro. Oh my
Hey,
god.
what you didn't realize is that Nicholas bullied you into moving to the raccoon capital of the world. Did you know that that's what Toronto is actually that? Yes. Yes. Toronto is the raccoon capital of the world. Yes.
How what the I swear I've only seen like two raccoons ever when I've been in Toronto. So
Who, Nicholas, and when was the other one?
The other one was when I was driving through the suburbs. But yeah, I see that raccoon Nicholas a lot.
Yeah,
It's-
I mean, no, it's bro. Like, look at his story in the last 2 days with all the murals and artwork. Like, it's
oh yeah,
actually
it's
insane.
true.
Like, bro,
Yeah.
they got hella ones. Like, bro, I was driving Nichols to the airport before we went to Mexico, and we literally drove over raccoon, and I was like, bro, this is a bad omen. Like,
You drove over Iraq. Is that what you
yeah,
said?
bro, like literally like murked him in the street. Like, it was like at night. It was like 8 p.m. or something.
It was just catching a body casually on the way to the airport.
Yeah,
That's
bro, like, bro, he was swimming the pavement. Like, it was actually so sad.
that's jokes. You guys kill me. Fuck.
No, I mean, honestly, man, like, I think that's what makes travel so great is like you get to choose your own adventure. It's not like, oh man, I'm just gonna go on this, basic tour and we're just gonna go with the Boy Scouts to the Eiffel Tower to Big Ben. It's like, no, I flew all the way to Ningbo so I could see this one-armed monkey. And yes, that is exactly why I went there.
No, honestly, no, that's valid. And then you just like get all these life experiences that just makes you a much more interesting person. Like imagine just randomly at a party, you start talking to this person, you're like, oh yeah, I flew across the world to see this one-armed monkey. Like it's no big deal. They're like, who are you?
I mean, seriously, man, like people have done more outrageous things. Like, I mean, I feel like, no, not to be full myself, but like I low key feel like I'm the king of having the strangest desire of places to travel to, why I want to do it. Like, yes, there's other people out there like me, not that I've met many of them yet, but when I tell people, yeah, man, I want to go to this place, and like, what? Like, where? Or like, bro, Cape Verde or Cabo Verde, as I say, because that's its official name now. To me, it's like so basic. Like when it's like, yeah, I went to Africa, I went to Cabo Verde. It's not like I went anywhere insane or anything. And
God.
people are like, what? Where did you go? Where is that? And
Yeah.
you know what the craziest thing about that was? I come back, I'm going through customs. They're like, where'd you go? I was like, I went to Boston and Cabo Verde. And they're like, where is that? The guy asks me, who works at the Canadian Customs, where is Cabo Verde? I probably thought it was somewhere in Mexico. And I was like,
It
it's in
sounds like
Africa. I was like, oh, it's in Africa. And he's like, writes ZAF, which are like it's like the international code for like South Africa, I think. And I was like,
oh,
oh, I don't know why he wrote ZA. Like maybe it's a coincidence, but he wrote ZAF. And I'm
oh
like,
god. It's like,
okay,
hey,
good thing.
It has to be South Africa. Yeah.
Yeah. So sent me to another line. And the woman's like, why'd you go to Africa? I was like, for vacation. She's like, who'd you go with? I was like, myself. She's like, who paid for the trip? I'm like, myself. She's like, who did you meet there? I'm like, nobody. And then I was like, okay, carry on. And I was like, yo, I went to an archipelago that's just full of beaches. I didn't
Mhm.
say, yeah, I went to Mogadishu to try to find Somalian pirates and bring them into Canada.
You should have said that.
I mean, yeah, that would have been a lot more funny, but it's like, yeah. Like I remember seeing a meme where it's like, bring cocaine to the airport so you can pet the dogs. Like, outstanding move.
Ah, no, that's so funny. Yeah, Mats can't just travel to Africa just for the fun of it, eh? Like it's just so outlandish in people's brains.
But I mean, okay, have you ever watched The Last Chance You?
Oh yes.
The basketball ones though?
Oh no, that's whack. What the
Okay.
heck?
Okay. Well, anyways,
Basketball ones? Okay,
but
go on.
just because there's a sound that was popularized on TikTok from one of the basketball episodes. And it's where the coach, like it's like a junior college team in East LA, like the hood.
Yeah,
And
obviously.
then and then after the game, he's like all excited. I think they won or whatever. And he's like, you are freaking African Americans plus Mark. And he points at
Oh,
this
I've heard
white
of that.
ginger guy. Yeah, that's where it's
Yeah.
from. He's like, but I ride with Mark, man, because Mark's rocking with us. And like, bro, literally as soon as we touch down and I walk in the airport in Praia, like that's literally what I felt like. Like I look around and people look at me, they're like, bro, like I went to church on this. So the main island is the one you have to fly to, and then
Mhm,
the island that's nearest to the right is the second smallest in the entire country. So I went there thinking it was going to be easy to get to, but it
mhm.
turns out the ferry goes there like once a week, and I was like, oh, okay, learn that on the spot. But anyways, we adjust, we roll to punches. I show up, I go to church there, and like it literally was like me and like me by myself, and then this other like two other white guys that were like with women there, and then that was it. And people were like, when I walked in, they were like looking at me, and I was like, hey.
Color.
But honestly, like everyone was super nice. It was such an enjoyable experience. People were super friendly and hospitable, and like I was the only tourist from North America I met, like the only
Wow.
one. Everyone else was from Europe or from Africa. Like lots of people from Senegal are there too, obviously, because it's like super close. But like, I don't know, man. I think it's just like when you go to places that people don't expect, you get way more interesting stories, life experience. And sometimes you can't, like, as much as we want to surround ourselves with people who have the same goals and interests and desires to elevate and to achieve greatness. I think there's something to be said about achieving greatness in what with what that means to you as well. If that means like luxury travel or experiencing this random place that nobody knows exists, or if that means like going across the world for a wild animal that is 50 pounds overweight and its lifespan is like 3 years.
Oh my god. The Jing Jing monkey always gets me. It always gets me. Everything
Oh,
else you
I was
just said.
referring to raccoons there. Like Jing Jing monkey could live like 25, 30 years. Like apparently Jing Jing's already lived for 20 years. So
Oh my god. That's absurd.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, I
I
don't.
mean, shit. Interesting. Okay, I actually had a thought, but I completely because I was gonna respond to what you were saying, but it just went out the window. I was thinking of Xing Xing
What?
Monkey.
Oh, about like achieving greatness and what that means to you with like traveling to like why you travel to countries and like enjoying luxury travel versus going to Turkmenistan and then people say, "What's that?"
Yes, in a sense, I think going along the lines of like, yeah, the more you travel and like when you go to like random places and how it develops you as a person, I think like uh I almost respect people more for their travels because traveling by yourself, first of all, isn't easy, and then traveling international isn't easy. So, like, it says so much about the person that they're so willing to just do random things or outside of the box things. That, like, how you're talking about surrounding yourself with, like, we want to surround ourselves with people that are great and all that, but um, the people that you meet when you travel outside of your comfort zone and all that stuff, it makes you a completely different person than what you would think you'd have to find within your home city, if that made sense.
I mean, it's similar to like how you moved to Toronto and that was like moving outside of your comfort zone, right? Like you wanted to do it and it took some pushing and pulling from outside sources to like get you to do it, even though it was a goal you had. So like sometimes I feel like I don't know. I was talking about this the other day with my fitness manager at Good Life, and we were talking about how human beings for some reason are just psychologically wired to like just crave safety, security, and comfort. Like even if they know that that's not good for them, it just they want it, right? Like people are they're willing to upgrade their phone, their computer, their laptop, their house, their cars, but they're not
Mhm.
willing to like investing their like in their body. Like what? Like it's literally the only thing
Mhm.
you have that's irreplaceable. Like why would you not? Like it's good for you, but it's like why are you so hesitant to do it? Or like
Mhm.
that like pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and leaning on your edge to achieve greatness. You know that that's going to be better for you than like being a victim and like being broke and living with excuses. But why still do that? Like I
Exactly.
don't.
It's like I was saying before about the cost of yeah, the pain of regret is like way more, but apparently people don't think it's gonna be as bad as just staying the same and not pushing themselves to the limit. But I mean, that's just the average person, I guess.
Well, before we wrap for today, I did want to ask you, what advice would you give to somebody who is where you were like 5, 6 years ago?
Oh, I would say, is this like before or after they kind of know what they're trying to do in life, like their purpose and what?
Either or, like if you were talking to a group of someone who's like kids or people in their early 20s who are like, some people are like, hey, I want to make money online. Other people like, I know how to make money online, but I doubt myself. Or
Mhm.
or I'm not sure. Like, what would you say to a younger version of yourself on either side of the line?
I would say this is kind of comes from Tim Grover too. I guess you just it's okay to be completely obsessed. Like you should want to only do the things that are gonna push the needle. Like even though everyone's gonna be like, oh, you need to like balance it more, you need to have more family time, you need to do all this and that. It's okay to be obsessed because that's the only way that if you do want to make as much money as you say you want to do, that you're gonna get there. Like everyone always understands the extremes that understands in quotations because no one really understands. Everyone thinks that they understand the extremes that you have to go to be as successful as we talk about, like getting your nine whatever fancy lifestyle you want, but you don't get to that life without being completely obsessed. Like what I tell some of my editors right now is that just look at it as if nothing else matters. Like nothing else in your life matters except for being super sick at editing. Nothing else in your life matters except for being really good at e-com drop shipping or whatever the fuck you're doing. Like obviously your family matters, like the basics matter, but it's like right here. Like your family is like I'll say the family is like the most important, but like it's right there as all you care about is pushing the needle forward for that. And so the only advice is just be obsessed with whatever you're doing. 100%.
Man, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. Tim Grover, he just the way he puts things is so brilliant. And to add on to that, one of my like so many things he says are extreme bars, but this to me was top three Tim Grover quote ever. Who wants zero friends? No one raised their hand. You know, who wants zero money? No one raised their hand. Who wants zero happiness? No one raises their hand. Who wants zero success? No one raises their hand. Then he asks, what's the number on a perfectly balanced scale?
Damn. That's a bar. Jeez.
When he said it, bro, the first time I heard that, I was like, yo, like he actually went in.
Oh my gosh.
But seriously, like he's like, let me save you money. Anytime that you try to buy a book on how to balance life, there is no balance. You
Yeah.
create balance for you. If that means just my family and just editing, that's balance. If that means just editing because I have no family, that's balance.
Mhm.
What does that look like to you? It's not how do I fit in a golf game at 3 o'clock on Saturday after I go to my arts and crafts and grandma and do my editing and blah 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 and run my. It's like no. What do you need to do? What is going to move the needle? And almost nothing else matters. Like
Bro, that is thank you. You said it so perfectly. Yeah, that's actually the same like I guess story or quote. Because yeah, everyone always talks about balance and balancing your lifestyle, but I always look at it as it's not trying to fit your work in, or your like your work into your life, which is your life into your work. Like your work is just your life, and then you do other stuff along the way. Like even when we travel, we're still working, we're still talking to clients, we're still editing, we're still project managing, but we're still living a fun life that most people only dream of living. So we don't have balance in that life, but we're still living the life that everyone's like, damn, you're doing this and that. So balance is just it's a curse word at this point. We don't need it.
no man, absolutely not, bro. This was insanely fun. I know that there's still lots more things we can talk about, but I appreciate the time that you spent enlightening us and sharing the stories, lots of laughs, and lots of inspiring words to carry the listener forward to go and achieve greatness and throw balance out of their dictionary.
Fuck balance. I don't even know if I can swear on here, but hey, it's too late.
But thank you again, man. It was super awesome getting to chat, man. This was great. So
It's a great time. Great time. I love to see it.